Okay, here we are. It's Robert Weichelt with eXp out of San Diego, and I've got my special friend, Andrew Bloom, one of my best buddies on the planet, and one of my favorite guys, and just an all-around rock star of an agent. I'm going to let you tell that story, but I reached out to Andrew because I have so much love and just admiration for this guy. He's just like one of my favorite people. So with that said, I want to introduce everybody, my friend, Rockstar, Andrew Bloom. Welcome, buddy. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, that's cool, man. So you know what I want to tell the group, our message today is we're going to talk to new agents, somewhat seasoned agents, and then we're going to talk about agents that have been around a long time, because all three of those groups have their own set of struggles. No matter what market we're in, you know, a new agent's going, oh my God, what do I do? The agent that's been kind of around but not yet experienced an REO market has a whole set of other things like short sale REO, which will come. And then we have agents that have been around like us forever that technology might be in their way or some things that are going on. So before we get started, tell the audience who's Andrew Bloom, and give us a little bit of background on you.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for the opportunity. So I've been licensed 26 years now, and I've kind of seen it all, right? So I was the new agent. I was in the middle for about 20 years, kind of stuck in the middle for about 20 years. And now I'm kind of the experienced OG guy. And, you know, the primary difference between new and stuck in the middle and experienced is when you're stuck in the middle, it's because you haven't mastered the models and systems to scale your business, right? So you get stuck in the middle for a long time. A lot of people do. They kind of hit a financial thermostat or a transaction thermostat, and they don't know how to break through that. So, you know, for new agents, well, let me tell you a little more about me, I suppose, right? Like, so anyway, I started in this crazy business 30 years ago as a social worker working in low-income housing as a housing advocate. And I got my real estate license so I could be a better housing advocate. And I sold 40 houses my first year part-time on accident. I got my real estate license and just recognized that I could really help advocate for low-income families to actually buy affordable housing. So it was an easy conversation to have. People that had never rented or never purchased before, and they've been renting their whole life. And then I went into the business full-time a year and a half into it, and realized that in order for me to have the kind of life that I wanted to have, I would need to increase my average sell price, right? I was working in low-income housing as a real estate professional, selling low-income housing, affordable housing to first-time home buyers. And after I gained a little bit of confidence in the transaction and the process, I just started increasing my average sell price over time. And then I kind of hit a ceiling for about 20 years of $40 million a year in production, about 100 units a year. I didn't have any time. I didn't have any leverage.
Shabby.
What's that?
It's not too shabby, I got to say.
Oh, it was good. You know, it was really good, but I didn't really have a life worth living whatsoever.
Yeah.
I didn't have a business worth owning. I barely had a career worth having. I had a job, right? I had a job for 20 years as a real estate agent. And then I started taking some executive leadership classes in real estate that allowed me to exponentially grow my business over the last 5 years from 40 million to 200 million a year in production. And as a result of exponentially growing my business, I also had to exponentially deepen my bench, right? So I became a master in lead generation first, and then I became a master in organizational management and understanding how the organizational map would allow me to continue to grow my business and deepen my bench, right? So for new agents that are out there, I structure my team on an apprenticeship program. So new agents join my team, and they're immediately given the opportunity to join us in buyer consultations and seller consultations. And for their contribution in joining us, they get 5% on the listing side to assist us in the transaction, right? We give them a little piece of the pie, but it gives them immediate momentum. Most real estate agents don't get their license to pound phones for 90 days hoping to get to their first yes. But if, you know, what I found is if you treat it as an apprenticeship program and you share some of your business with them, it will give them a lot more confidence to go out and get their own business. So that's the program that I run now with my organization. And I actually just took over a market center in Santa Monica, and I've changed the mentor-mentee program here to reflect the same kind of opportunity for both the mentor to have leverage in their business and the mentee to be able to get into production fast. The sooner you can get a transaction going as a new agent, the more confidence you're going to have. And the more confidence you have, the higher your conversion rates are going to be. And the higher your conversion rates are, the more cash flow you're going to have. But you have to build that confidence up by educating them through actually hands-on transactional experience, which is where the competency comes in, right? You have to be competency drives confidence, not the other way around, right? If you fake competency and try to act confident, you come across arrogant or incompetent at worst. And so, you know, we just simply reversed it and said, okay, we're going to build up the competency by getting agents right away into transactions. So if you're a new agent, partnering with a seasoned agent that has something to deliver and value, in addition to outstanding training and coaching, they actually have opportunities for you to ride shotgun with buyers and sellers, right? So that you get your feet wet, and you get your feet wet fast. And the sooner that you can get, you know, behind the curtain with a seller or a buyer and start getting involved in a transaction, you know, you'll really have the ability then to be able to go out and procure your own. So it's
That's
like,
basically, Andrew, that's like a paid internship. You get them a taste of the commissions. You get them involved in the transaction. They're helping you with those transactions. But what you're doing is you're getting the momentum. They see it. They financially are invested in it. So it's really a great way to get started in the business. So tell me this. So a new agent, it's best that I know that new agents can go out there and do it on their own, but it's probably a suggestion, a really heavily suggested, that they join a team or get on whether it be a large team or a small team, but get with somebody, a mentor at least, and get that momentum going. Thank you for that. Let's talk about the seasoned agent. We have agents that have been in the business a long time, like you and I. And what's your suggestion with somebody that comes to you and says, you know, I've been in the business a long time. Like you mentioned, that 20 years, the thermometer was maxed out. I'm stuck on, you know, production that I know I can do more. What do you tell a seasoned agent to help them go to the next level?
well, the first conversation to have with the seasoned agent is, have you mastered the fundamentals? And you need to know that the fundamentals are lead generation, right? So have you mastered lead generation to a point where it's predictable and automatic for you, right? Do you have those systems in place so that your lead generation is automatic? So, you know, are you in healthy habits, right? Is your behavior, your activities, your schedule, you know, are they generating business for you, but you'd like to do more, right? So you're either stuck because you haven't mastered lead generation, or you're exhausted and you don't want to do it anymore, right? But in order to get to the next level, it's all built on the foundation of being a lead generating machine, right? That's why they're called rainmakers, right? So if you've been in the business for 20 years and you're not a rainmaker, then, you know, maybe you got to look at some other options in terms of, what the opportunity map might be for you. Maybe you go coach, right? If you can't do anymore, then you coach. So, you got to look at it and go, if you're a rainmaker and you're just exhausted, right? You've worked so much, you've worked so hard, you haven't figured out a way to get your time back and free your time up. You're still sitting open houses, you're still calling expireds and cancels, or you're still farming the same doors, and you're getting the same results and you're happy with those results, but you want your time back, then you need to deepen your bench, right? And this is one of the reasons why I brought the mentor-mentee program into my new office in the way that I did, because prior to me taking this role of running the 400 agent office, they had a mentor-mentee program. And the way that it worked is the mentor, the seasoned agent, would help the mentee whenever the mentee got an opportunity to get in front of a buyer or seller. And so the mentor, they would only get a small percentage of that deal, but they would have to give up time, their own time, in order to help the mentee procure or solidify that transaction. They weren't freeing up their time as mentors, right? All they were doing was giving up their time.
Yeah.
They were getting compensated, but there was no long-term benefit for them. So now we're running the apprentice program where the mentors are expected to bring the mentees with them on listing appointments and buyer consultations. When the mentee goes with the mentor on a listing consultation, the mentee has a list of responsibilities that they need to do, and they're compensated 5% of the mentor's commission on that listing for bringing them in, right? 5%, that's it. Now, if the mentee brings a deal to the mentor, that's a 50-50 deal, right? But if the mentor is giving the mentee a piece of their deal, it's 5%, right?
Got it.
Because the mentee is the one benefiting from the apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
And the mentor is now able to benefit from having leverage. On the buyer side, you give them 10%. So it's kind of like the showing agent model, right? And so what I find is the experienced agents, they're just not following the models properly. They don't understand how to have a showing agent. They don't understand how to bring in a co-listing agent or somebody to assist them on the listing side of the transaction or the buyer side of the transaction. So we simply model it appropriately so that everything is a win-win. And so when that mentee comes in, now you've got that new agent, you're partnering with the senior agent, and the senior agent now has a chance to create leverage, or at least learn and understand how leverage can work to benefit them in their business. Once they've understood that, then they can 10x or double down on the lead generation activities that have worked for them for so long. The reason why they can't or are unwilling to exponentially increase the lead generation activity that works for them is because they don't have the leverage and they don't have the time to do that. So, you had asked me about the agent that's in the middle, right? And there's a phenomenal Facebook group that's very active called Messy in the Middle, and it's messy in the middle because people haven't mastered the fundamentals. They haven't mastered lead generation at a really high level. And if they do master lead generation at a really high level, they have no leverage and they're just exhausted and they're worn out or they're frustrated and they're making bad hires or bad decisions on who to bring into their organization because they're reactive instead of proactive. And so I think it's really important for anybody to begin with the end in mind. If you're a seasoned, experienced agent, you've been in the business a long time, you've got a huge database, maybe a lot of agents say, oh, my number one lead source is repeat and referral business. Okay, that might be true. But what's the lead lever that's getting you there, right? You've got that great of a system for your database management that 80% of your business is repeat and referral business, but yet you've done the same amount of transactions for the last 10 years, year in and year out. Right? To me, there's a disconnection there, right? Have you really mastered your database as a lead generating machine if your transaction count isn't going up, right? So when you're in that middle, I think it's really important to see you later, Avi.
Great day today.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
When you're in the middle, that's the opportunity for you to really hone your skills on mastering the models.
Got it.
Right? There's 4 models that you have to master, no matter what organization, what real estate brokerage you're in. There's four models that you should master. The lead generation model is the most important, because without the lead generation model, the organizational model is inconsequential. It doesn't really have any value if you haven't mastered lead generation. If you want to grow your team without mastering lead generation, that's called a brokerage. Brokerage, right? Broke for a reason, right? If you want to grow your team and you want to deepen your bench and you haven't mastered lead generation, then you're a brokerage, right? But if you've got a lead generation lever that's duplicatable, right? That's predictable, then you can scale it, right? And so then you can master the organizational model. Once you've mastered lead generation, you have to master the budget model. You got to know what your expenses are, right? You got to know what your cost of sell is. You got to understand what your profit looks like. You've got to master the economic model. You got to understand what that looks like, and you've got to understand the organizational model. But if you haven't mastered lead generation, which is the foundation of this business, everything
says, like the everything says, leads, listings, leverage.
Leads, listings, leverage, right? And if you haven't mastered that foundation of lead generation, now maybe your lead generation isn't automated, right? Maybe you're not farming 5,000 doors, right? Or 50,000 doors. Maybe you have such a good niche. You're so good at the auction platform and you're pounding phones and expireds and cancels and FSBOs, but that's a behavior that can be scaled and repeated by bringing new agents onto you, right? But you've got to have it down pat, right? You've got to have that. You've got to have lead levers mastered at a really high level in order for you to bring people into your organization. And so, they flow into each other, right? New agents should be partnered with experienced agents, and people that are in the middle really need to master the fundamentals. They really need to master the systems and the models, and they need to take a 30,000-foot view and look at it and say, okay, if I want to begin with the end in mind, what do I want it to look like 5 or 10 years from now? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want my business to look like? And you've got to be able to map that out, and you've got to build an org chart to that. Who do I need in my world, or who do I need in my life in order for me to be able to hit these goals and have the life that I want to have? Yeah. So I think that's, it's very sequential. Growth is very sequential. And if you're trying to, skip years of learning, right? It's kind of like learning to ride a bike before you've learned to walk. I mean, you're going to scrape your knee up a couple times, right? You're just going to fall. So it is sequential. All of this growth in real estate is sequential. There's a roadmap for this success. There's a roadmap to take you from being brand new to being able to have a business worth owning and a life worth living. And it's just a matter of following that roadmap. Now, we all got told a whole lot of bad things as kids. Captain Hook kind of screwed us over. And, if you think about the treasure map with the X on it, and Captain Hook was always looking for that treasure under the X, right? When the truth of the matter is the treasure is buried under the Y. So you've got to start with the why. You got to start with understanding why you're doing what you're doing, what you want to get out of it, what your purpose is, where your passion is, and then you can find the X, right? But if you never start with the why, you're never looking for the why, and you're always looking for the X, you're going to you're going to be running around aimlessly trying to figure out what to do next and where to go. So it's really simple. Start with the end in mind.
Yeah, you know what? That was huge, and I appreciate you saying that, because at the end of the day, your why is what gets you springing out of bed to get in the office early, or to get on those phones early, or to make those things happen. So, I have my goal board right here in front of me. You and I both know that we do our affirmations and we do our goals and actuals, and those things are so important, and we have so much fun doing those.
Yeah, it's great. When you know where you're going and what you're doing,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah. So you
Like
talked about lead gen, obviously, is the number one thing. Leads, listings, leverage. That's key. Keeping that budget in mind, because what happens is agents, they make a lot of money, have an opportunity to make a lot of money, but then they blow it on the next shiny object. And then the other thing is the organizational model. Find out what's going on in terms of who, what, where, when, why, and who you can leverage and who you can work with. So not only a brand new agent getting with a star, with at least a mentor, or get on a team, but that interesting thing is messy in the middle. So I want to make sure that everybody listening, messy in the middle, go to the Facebook group, messy in the middle, because I know we're speaking to a lot of folks that are in that messy in the middle. And then the last thing is the seasoned agent. Go out, mentor, share some ideas, and that rejuvenates you. So
it does. It's exciting, right? When you can bring around some young talent, and you need to know who to bring into your world, right? You need to have a values conversation with people.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, Andrew. I tell you, I know we could go on and on forever, but I tell you what, it's just so awesome getting the chance to get to talk to you again. And I appreciate you talking about how to help the new agent, how to help the messy in the middle agent, and those experienced agents that are kind of wanting to get to the next level. So any closing remarks that you'd like to just say in the real estate industry, any motivational message you'd like to leave us with tonight?
Sure. Well, I think it's really important for everybody to stay learning based, right? Stay curious. Curiosity is one of the greatest gifts that we have, right? So when you look at your own business and you look at your own life and who you want to attract into it, are you humble? Are you hungry? And are you curious, right? And when you possess those values and you're attracting people into your world and into your organization based on those values, you can't go wrong. So just stay curious, stay learning based, and keep growing.
Well, amen, brother. Well, you know what? I always learn from you, and I appreciate you so much. And we'll end this call today, and want everyone to have a super amazing time. This is Robert Weichelt with eXp, and I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, Andrew Bloom, my dear friend. I love you. I appreciate you. And we're going to get on the phone again soon.